Domination University. Welcome back to Domination University. This is Francesca J, and I'm here with a very special guest, Kathryn Schiff. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
For sure. I'm so excited because you're my teacher and muse and just, this goddess of so many different talents and healing arts. And so I'm just so excited. I'm so honored that you actually took the time. I've seen your schedule. You're doing so many awesome things right now. I'm excited for you and just so appreciative that you could take the time to come to Domination University with us.
Of course. Absolutely. Thank you.
So do you want to tell us about some of the stuff that you do? Because you'll probably do a better job other than me just calling it healing arts. And I take, your classes.
Mm-hmm.
I've consulted with you in the past. I love your work. But tell us about who you are or what you do and, the rundown.
Okay. What do I do? I teach intuitive healing. So it means I'm an intuitive healer. And what I do, there's several aspects of it. So there's a part of it that is with working with the psychic space, so your intuition. And my belief or my understanding is that every single human being has this ability. It's just like a muscle. And just like certain things in life, some people are called to work on certain things in certain areas and some people aren't. So we all have this ability, and what I teach is how to allow it. So it's always there. So sometimes we turn it off, sometimes it's shut down, it's not allowed, or there's fear around it. So we get into our own space and we learn how to hear our own voice, or what that means when people talk about that. And the other part of that is the healing aspect. In order to trust yourself, in order to get your own answers, get your own information, we have to heal. There's a lot of things keeping us from that, right? Like doubt or programming or whatever it is. A lot of things. So part of the process is a meditation type of process, but it's really more than a meditation. It's really an active tool of working with energy. So it's not really all this kind of weird,
Hocus pocus.
It's really not. It's actually much more science-based, scientific. It's a muscle in the body, right? And it's our purpose, in a sense, our right as a human being to access this and get our own answers from within. So intuitive healing is about working with the self, but what it does is inevitably it helps you to work with everybody else around you on whatever aspects. So I teach it. I also do, as you know, like one-on-one kind of, they're almost like therapy sessions, but they're energy sessions. And we can look at the individual, do one-on-one work, but my, goal or my favorite part of it is teaching tools that you don't need to rely on someone else to do this for you. You can learn how to work with yourself and go off into your life, into the world, and do it yourself. So there's tools to be learned. So that's my kind of personal, part of it, my favorite part of it.
That's awesome. Yes, I love the tools. I don't know how I could handle the things that I handle on a regular basis without them.
Me either. Literally. They're life-saving, right?
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, think about, we all have different waves, different kind of spirals in our life, but how much inefficiency and how much suffering comes from not being able to manage your emotions.
Exactly.
And a lot of times that's just because your energy is, so all over the place and has so many other people's, energy inside, so you have to deal with tons of people's karma on top of your own. It's just, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. So we're feeling everybody else's stuff around us, right? We're feeling all the people we're connected to, even strangers, or if you're in groups of any kind, we end up feeling everybody else's stuff all around us. So we're not just feeling our own thing, we're feeling other people's. And it's hard to differentiate which is which in the body, correct? I mean, it's like, it'll drive you nuts.
Right.
Especially, that's where we get things like anxiety or just your mind, those thoughts we have that just take you down a road you don't want to go down, or when you're spiraling or kind of stuck in something that's so repetitive. So often, what that really is just an energy that we're stuck on. So energy tools help us, first of all, to know how to be in our body so we become aware of it. So we're not just victims, like, oh my God, I'm having all this anxiety. I'm a victim. Something's happening to me. So rather than that, I get to say, okay, something is happening and I can do something about it. There is a way I can tune into my own space and release what that is, because that's not mine. And it's my body's way of letting me know, hey, I just, got triggered by something, or I picked up something and I can do something about it. Yeah. Life-changing.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I wish they taught that in schools. Do you know some of the history of this type of work that you want to share?
So this type of work, this is how I explain it. This type of work is ancient. It's been around since the beginning of time. Other cultures have always practiced this kind of work. Some cultures, even today, practice this kind of work. Not really here. It's not really a Western thing to do, but it's getting much more popular. And, especially now, like, it's very trendy, which is great. It's a great trend to, be spiritual and meditate and learn how to, connect with yourself. But this particular training that I teach is based in a certain foundation. It is. And so the majority of the tools that we work with come from like the early 70s, and specifically from Berkeley, from the Berkeley Psychic Institute.
Nice.
And if you Google it, there's a bunch of crazy stuff out there.
Go Berkeley.
Just as there is with anything, and any kind of group where you're doing some esoteric work, you're going to see all this stuff about cult and all that kind of stuff. So just beware, blow your roses, meaning use your tools, and just get the truth for you. That's why, we have the tools, so you can get neutral and see the truth in things. So how I work with it is, I learned at a school, a wonderful school, a center in Santa Fe, New Mexico. My teacher had been trained by teachers that were trained from the original, people that had gone to the Berkeley Psychic Institute, including the man that started that center there in Berkeley, California. And so he took ancient tools and psychic work, but he kind of created it into a way that we could use in this more modern time, and actually in a really healthy way. So people that went through those schools, they created other centers around, the country, wherever. And what we do is you learn them, and then you take the tools, and then you just cater it, and you shape it, and you transform it to whatever works best for you. So I like to say there's no rules. There's no rules. You take it. If it feels better a certain way, do it a different way. But the guidelines of what I'm training, of what I learned, and when I'm, trying to, get out there for others to do what you want with it, is protection tools. So how to trust your own space, and especially if you're someone that works on other people or is a healer, these are ways to not take on other people's energy. So even if you're not a healer, it's ways to not take on your family's energy or, people you care about. But specifically, this training is helping a healer be able to heal and give without losing your own self or taking on someone else's energy that gets us sick or gets us stressed out.
Yeah, like Edgar Casey.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most profound psychic energy healers. Yep. Who's a natural.
Yep.
He died extremely young,
yep.
and he was just constantly being depleted. He didn't have boundaries, didn't know how to tell people no, and obviously he made this profound impact on history.
Amazing, yeah.
But I wanted to bring that up because that's exactly it. And
he didn't have tools.
Yeah, you got to, if you don't take care of yourself and you're constantly, reaching out to other people, eventually you're going to run out.
Exactly. So if you're not trained, or, the word trained, it's such a weird, but really it is. It's like, if you're not equipped, how about that? Then as a healer of any kind, even just a very loving person or a codependent person or an enabling person, right? Someone who just wants to take care of everyone, you're going to keep reaching out and giving away your energy to everybody else and you're not getting it back. Or what happens is when you work on someone else, you're helping them, but you're taking on their stuff. And that is depleting. And yes, absolutely, it'll eventually break you down. And, a lot of these healers, like he's a great example. He died young and he gave all his energy away and he took on everything he worked with, right? So now we know very easily and very, you can learn it in certain different ways, whatever works for you. But we know we can work on someone and we can safely do it without taking their energy on or consciously move their energy out when we're done. And then as you know, because you and I have done a lot of this work together, you're energized afterwards.
Right.
You're energized. You're not only not depleted, you're like, I feel great because what I heal in you, I also get to heal in me. So I get a healing. So it's like the best thing in the world.
Yeah, it's amazing how much wisdom you learn about yourself doing this work. And you think, when you're giving a reading that to someone else that they're getting all the benefit, but that's not actually the case.
Mm-mm.
And I did want to kind of touch on a few things because these are kind of areas that I felt like I needed greater understanding. So you were just talking about how you can work with people, you can heal them, but not take on their energy.
Mm-hmm.
We want to like specify that, you taking on the weight of the world is not going to fix the world.
No.
And when you take on all this other energy from other people, you're not helping them better.
Mm-mm.
So it's not like you need to like sacrifice in this situation. You got to protect yourself. You can neutralize, you can work with the energy safely for both you and them. And you'll be more efficient in that way.
I love that you just said that. Yeah. I love that you brought that up. That's huge because everybody has their own purpose. Everybody's here for a reason. And a lot of that is to experience things and work things out, right? So if we keep taking that problem away from them and we keep fixing it for them or trying to do it for them, they have to keep recreating it over and over and over and over and over and over until they do it themselves. So we have to allow that to happen, right? But I like that you brought it up also because I want to change my language. I'm not healing anybody. We are not healing anybody else out there. This is where that term comes in, holding space.
Oh, I love that term.
I love that
It's been
term
huge,
too, right?
Huge lately.
Holding space. What we're really doing as healers is holding space, creating space for that person to heal themselves. And that's part of it.
Perfect. I love that you said that. Yeah.
Right?
So I think a lot of times people also have these expectations that you're going to see the future, that you have control that you don't have necessarily.
Yeah.
There's so much potentiality, and you might have someone who I like to think about the energetic world in terms of human relationships like a chess game, and you have the different chess pieces set up, and you can kind of look and be like, oh, I see that this is in the favor of this side versus this side. You can kind of see like, well, there's a lot of momentum here, but you never really know. Like there's always the potential to change, and there's miracles that happen all the time as well.
Yes.
So I love though just the different philosophies and how you can connect to that part of you that can take the reins as a spiritual being having a human experience, and be more connected to cause and effect, especially with manifestation, and a lot of times, kind of to your point, is when we don't heal ourselves, when we don't work through all the stuff that we're that we need to work through, it's so hard to be there for anyone else. It's so hard to be there for our other purposes.
You really can't. You have to take care of you first. You really do. And it's not a selfish thing, but it is highly selfish, right? At the same time.
Well, who else is going to do it?
I know, right? And who's the most important person? You. So, truthfully, if you don't love yourself or honor yourself, no one else is going to benefit. If you don't love or honor yourself, how can you truly love or honor someone else? You just can't. It doesn't work that way, right?
Absolutely.
So that is what we're working with here. We're like working with that deep stuff that says I'm worthy enough to, care about myself.
Yeah, it's I'll share something on a little bit more personal note, not to go too deep, but I've been working with a lot of heart chakra stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the stuff that comes up is like judgment versus universal love, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of me working through it has had to face the part of me, as much as I'm like so just like happy all the time. I love life. I'm pretty excited about everything, but I've had to work through a lot of self-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And on the surface, like I love myself. Like
Yeah.
this is great. I'm the
Yeah.
dean of Domination University, but I've been able to uncover stuff and just very deep in my heart center where there's a lot of self-judgment on
Mm-hmm.
myself, a lot of stuff that may be unreconciled from childhood or
Mm-hmm.
past lives, or because I'm also very hard on myself. But it's funny how it can be so tied, and it's usually at the center of things is just the relationship that we have with ourselves.
Absolutely. And where does it come from? What's behind all those layers with that? I mean, it's layered,
Yeah.
So is it part of your programming, part of how you grew up? Is it your family karma? Is it, the environment you were in? I mean, all of that plays into it. But if you can sit in that space where we learn to go and just look at it, right? Then you start to see, oh, wait, like there's room in here for me to change things if I don't like them, if they're not working for me. We're not trapped in it.
Right.
We're part of
I
it.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life is constant, you know what I mean? Like there's so much going on all the time, like between, you know what I mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't think the world is just what we see,
Mm-mm.
this table that I'm knocking on, this microphone that's
Mm-hmm.
amplifying my voice. There's so many different things on a quantum level,
Mm-hmm.
I think on a spiritual level. And when you can take better understanding of the different karmic agreements and relationships that unfold based on our desire to grow
Mm-hmm.
as human beings, you can move through these things with a lot more peace
Mm-hmm.
and understanding. And I think that's
Yeah.
one of the biggest things to talk a little bit on what I've used the tools for, manifestation,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the when I launched this podcast almost a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
I was taking your Claire One,
Mm-hmm.
the beginning class.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's.
Yeah,
Am I
it
saying
is.
it correct?
Yeah, it is. It's intuitive healing.
Intuitive
Or
healing.
clairvoyant. So there's many
Yeah.
names for the program. Yeah, many
Yeah.
names.
So I
But
was
yes.
taking that, and it was like huge, huge shifts in
Mm-hmm.
energy, huge, huge shift in the direction
Mm-hmm.
of I can and I will.
Uh-huh.
And so much of what I think has held me back most of my life is me. It's
Yeah.
not other people. It's not the situation I was born into or
Right.
whatever. It's just, and I want everyone to take a moment because, I mean, Domination University, we have a lot of witches on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Witches are naturally very empathetic. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one of our common,
Mm-hmm.
connections to the witches of the past,
Yeah.
is that empath makeup that makes it so hard. And so when you're not managing that,
Mm-hmm.
this is using this type of work is one thing that you can do
Mm-hmm.
to work through. You can't control, and a little bit about the last few months. Like I had crazy, like one thing after another,
Yep.
just shit storms. And I was like,
But they
moving
weren't.
through. I was like bomb squad mode. I was like, I got this. And everyone
Uh-huh.
around me was like, I can't believe this is happening. And I'm like,
Shitstorm for
neither
someone
can
else.
I. Yeah, I'm moving through. I'm
cruised.
working it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like it uncovered a lot
Yeah.
of stuff. I purged a lot of energy going through those experiences.
Yeah.
But it was so much easier to do it because I was able to control things on an energy level.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
not with 100% control, but unless there's someone else like you or one of classmates coming in and start grounding stuff and
Yeah.
like putting up this and that.
Well, you're like, I can work the energy of this. It's coming at me. Okay, what do I want to do with it?
Exactly.
I can be the co-creator of my own life and my own experience.
And I kind of want to ground that. I don't want to go too much into this,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to put things into perspective because a lot of times you have doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Going through this work, you have a lot of doubt that
Mm-hmm.
kind of comes up. But so one of my handful of disasters I had a few months ago was this situation with a car, and I've had to go through lawsuits and whatnot. I talked about it briefly on one of my other, like live feeds. But, I'm going through this shit show and I'm in a position, well, what can I do? What control do I have?
Mm-hmm.
And so I use these tools to cyber stalk the director of strategic partnerships through this organization that
Uh-huh.
I was like involved with this total disaster with. And not only did I connect with him and did I bring him in to start fixing the situation for me, I have this other thing where I'm trying to handle this whole disaster with civil arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, I've already won civil. There's a piece of paper that says this motherfucker owes me like $3,500. But so I'm working the tools to try to get this company who refused to represent me in
Mm-hmm.
court use the tools. Sure enough, I have a name and I have a person
Mm-hmm.
who in writing says, hey, we'll go to court with you
Mm-hmm.
because of this. But anyway, so I'm trying to paint the picture of, the types of things that we can do because I can't change the fact that I had this terrible business transaction and this jerk face with an existential crisis and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of entitlement. I can't change that. I can't change him. I can, I
Right.
probably should hook him up to source and start grounding him or whatever. But I was able to get my car back. I grounded the car. I worked with that. I brought people in to
Mm-hmm.
help me, and now it's like I feel like I feel like Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really helpful to be able to to learn the type of what is it like crisis tools
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like just to find that part of yourself that can handle those situations without tearing yourself apart
Yeah.
and can make the best of them and bring about
Absolutely.
these miracles which you didn't think was possible under company policy.
Right. Right. But anything's possible. That's the truth.
There you
Anything's
go.
possible. So if you ground the situation, we call it grounding, it's just one of the tools. But if you ground it out, right, you can start releasing limits, what keeps it not possible. Move that energy out. It's just energy. And you're right, everything here is made to transform. We are co creators. We can transform energy. Energy changes, it shifts, right? So nothing is stuck. So I love that. I love it in a sense. I mean, it doesn't always feel great in life, but whenever something comes up where it's like it's supposed to be this way or it has to be, I mean, my reaction now just innately is really, like, okay, we'll see. It's like, well, there's your challenge. Shift the energy
Right.
and it can change. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you can do it very practically in things like you're talking about. I mean, take something very practical in your life and work the energy of it. That's what manifesting is about, right? Manifesting is you want something, you want it to happen, you want to bring it in, and you work the energy to release whatever of yours is preventing that from happening. That unworthiness or that idea, that, well, if I have, then someone else is going to lack, that kind of thing. That's a big one out there.
Yeah, isn't that funny? It's come up a lot in doing different readings, the idea of permission, and it's amazing even for me because I've always, like I am Aries rising, like I'm
You're
pretty
like, I was
much
born with
go out,
permission.
like, no one need to give me permission, but
Right.
there's a part of myself I had to give myself permission to, get this podcast started. I had to give myself permission to be successful in
Mm-hmm.
different areas of my life. I had to
Mm-hmm.
give myself permission to sing. And I feel like, especially for women,
Mm-hmm.
because women are so in tune with so many different life forms, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's, babies or
Mm-hmm.
plants or other people. And,
Mm-hmm.
we heal naturally.
Mm-hmm. It's part of our programming.
Yeah. So I totally completely did a brain fart with that. Oh, okay. Just the idea of permission, for yourself. I think that's where a lot of people may be lacking. They, give to other people without remembering, hey, this is the path that only you can walk.
I mean, don't you feel like we've been told really since birth on whatever level that it's selfish to ask for yourself, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And yes, it's selfish if you're going to take all the cookies off the plate and not give one to your, friend who's overplaying or your sibling. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about here. That's sharing.
Exactly.
This is about, no, it is not selfish to want to have joy and be safe and have abundance in your life. In fact, if you give yourself permission to have that, you will literally raise your vibration and you will start giving it to everybody around you, because they'll start matching your energy. They'll start raising their vibration. And all of a sudden they can start having in their life too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how that works, especially with family, and this is probably some of the most profound practical experiences that you could have with this work is when you learn how not to react, and suddenly, your unevolved aunt or uncle or maybe your sibling that has been just wanting to have war with you your entire life, and suddenly these relationships start evolving,
Yep.
like metamorphosizing. And it's been amazing to watch because I've been doing this for a while, like about, I think it was 10 years ago was when I found the school that we're both connected to in San Diego, at least, one of probably many schools you've been connected
Yeah.
to.
Intuitive insights.
Yeah. And it was amazing. I learned how to control my emotions and I learned how to not react with certain family members. And suddenly the war was over.
Yep.
They could not war with me if I did not react.
That's true.
And it took a long time to learn how to not get triggered, because family members often know how to press all your buttons. But to see the changes that started to happen as I continued to grow, like it's like the pond, the water in the whole pond rises for all the boats.
Yeah. Yeah, it's matching the energy or matching that vibration, right? So in a family unit, we've all created this routine with how we all work together, right? And then someone like you goes out and you're like, hey, I think I'm going to start working on myself and, start changing things up. And when you start working on you and you're like, I don't want to argue about this, or I don't want to feel that energy, right? So you practice your space, you get neutral so that it doesn't trigger you, which is amazing because family are the hardest because they're the ones that trigger us the most, right? But what happens is it's like a flame in a candle or a flame in a fire, right? So if that energy comes at you and you go at it with the same energy, it fuels it.
Right.
But what you're doing, I love it. I mean, I love how you just share that experience, because what you're doing is you're not fueling it. And then what happens is they come down to your level, or they raise higher to your level.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're the one controlling the energy by just not matching it, not meeting it. Or they go look for it somewhere else. Either way. Right?
Yeah.
And eventually it's like you start acting different. And so everybody else that's in that unit, they have to change how they act because it's not working the same way anymore. It's just not working. Right? They're not getting anything, so they have to change. So now you've just changed the whole family by working on yourself.
Right? I love it. I love it. Yeah, that actually triggered something I was thinking about a moment. I actually got yelled at for taking the women's intuition class way back in the day at Intuitive Insights. And I was about to miss out on a family thing. And I had signed up a long time ago. And I'm like, you know what? This is my schedule. I'm going to be here for 2 hours. And when I'm done, and this person freaked out. And they called me a piece of shit.
Oh, wow.
Very
You
severe.
really triggered them.
Yeah. And I said, get over yourself.
Wow.
And I just kind of walked away. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, that was a really good line. I should have said that before. I'm going to use that again. Get over yourself.
Remember that one.
Yeah. So it's so funny how that works. I mean, maybe not everything is going to be so dramatic. You know, you have your passive aggressive, family members and whatnot. But it's funny how we've learned different tools just for work in the room, just giving people a place to kind of let go of their baggage. And
Yeah, and a big part of that is, you're saying, I'm important. Like, I am important to myself. Can you respect that? And then someone else feels, well, what, am I not important anymore?
Right.
And then it pulls up the doubt, where you're like, wait, Am I being wrong? So these are all your
Yeah.
pictures. This is the stuff that we want to come out
Yeah.
during this kind of work. We want it to come up so you can see it and say, you know what? No, I care about you and I care about me. And this is not going to harm you. This is going to help me. You'll benefit from it,
Oh yeah.
you know?
I've
But
I've given a couple people healings too that we've learned, and they think it's just so amazing, so profound. Other things, just career wise, I think it's good. A lot of times, the things that are so intimidating to us or challenging. I mean, maybe you got your career in line, but maybe stressful. Dealing with the stress of other people, even just grounding yourself so you can drive more carefully. And so much of life is chance a lot of times. So kind of checking in, like, what's it look like?
yeah.
Like, where can I kind of work? Am I going too fast? Am I grounded?
Yeah. Am I here?
Am I where I want to go and I'm not really paying that good of attention?
Yeah.
What else do you want to share about this type of work for the average person who maybe doesn't know why they would want to go into it or explore these tools?
Yeah. You definitely do not need to be a healer or a teacher, or you don't have to do any of this work to benefit from it. I mean, really what this work is to me, so all the intuitive healing is on whatever level, even if you just took a meditation class or you just did a couple of, sessions. All of it is self-healing. It's just self-healing work. And the tools themselves are a way to check in with you and know where you are, like you just said. Am I present here right now in present time? Which means if I am, I'm conscious of things, I'm aware of things, I can make decisions that I can trust.
Yeah.
I can
Hit
be
the brakes
clear.
faster.
Exactly. I can trust my intuition. If I'm in the past, worried about something, I'm not here. If I'm in the future, worried about something, I'm not here. And that's when things can kind of get sketchy a little bit. So we learn how to become aware of that. It's not wrong. It's going to happen. It happens to us every day, all the time. But it's the awareness around it. Oh, okay. I know where I am. Like you and I both earlier, we were like, oh, we were coming here to meet. I was like, oh, it's just not in my head. I was still in what we were doing earlier. I was at the gas station. I'm like, wait, I need to ground. I got to drive my car. I got to get somewhere. Like, I'm not even paying attention. So
Right. I noticed I was driving terrible. I'm like, oh, I'm in
right?
I'm not in the right space. I got to
We
get
just
grounded.
did this deep meditation class.
Yeah, my analyzer was off.
And it was all on the analyzer, and it was all on turning it off, right?
Right.
So turn it back on to drive your car. Noted, right? But
Evolution.
Exactly. But it's like the awareness of it. So in my in the past, in my earlier life, I wouldn't even be aware of what that was. I would just be like, what is my deal? Or I wouldn't even pay attention. And who knows? I would have left my keys, done whatever. But this way I'm conscious and I get where I need to go safe.
Right.
So they're very actual, practical tools. Practical tools. How to ground and be in your body. How to get people that you're close to, even people you love, out of your space so you're not feeling all of their stuff. If you're feeling all of your best friend's pain, how can you help your friend, right? I have to have that separation so I can allow my friend to be in that space, and then I can be present and compassionate.
And help her move out of it.
Exactly.
Go through it.
Exactly. Protection around your space, things like that. I mean, going out into crowds. How many people hate going to the movie theaters or airports or, wherever, grocery stores even.
That is huge. When I had dreads for 12 years and I got them on accident and rocked them for a while. But people used to stare at me.
For a 12-year while.
Yeah. People used to stare. I don't know if it was because I was a white girl with dreads or they're pretty nice looking dreads. I will say that.
They're like, what's that?
But everybody would stare at me at airports. And it was the most uncomfortable thing because I'd just kind of glance over and I'd have all these people staring at me all the time.
And you're just feeling all their energy flying at your space. It could have even been half of them were like, oh, what's that? But half of them could have been like, God, she's so beautiful. I love that. I wish I could do that. Either energy, you're feeling it.
Exactly.
It's flying at your aura.
Yeah.
Right?
Another thing I've really benefited with these tools from is sales. And a lot of it is just expelling myself, especially when I used to sell insurance full time. One point I was driving all over the place and I felt so all over the place all the time. And I would constantly bring myself back in. Okay, bring my energy back in from that presentation, ground all that energy I just exchanged, going through this interaction, ground that out. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I could have managed otherwise
Mm-hmm.
because it was so emotionally exhausting. And it
Mm-hmm.
was something that, 5-10 minutes I could manage, and then I could be like myself again.
Mm-hmm.
I could have a normal evening. Like, someone who worked hard, but someone who, hadn't spread myself
Right.
all over the place. And, so it's funny. A lot of people, maybe just this conversation for the first time, they've thought about the idea, am I in present time, or am I at the show that I want to go to tomorrow?
Right.
Or I can't wait to go out of town this weekend. I'm already there.
Mm-hmm.
And, like
Yeah.
that's great, but you want to bring yourself back into present time because you know what I mean? Unless you're consciously going there to work the energy,
Right.
what are you going to do? You're just not present, and,
And it's going to affect the things you want to manifest today, right? It's going
yeah.
to affect the things you're working on now, right?
Perfect.
I mean, that's what's negative. It's not like any of this stuff is bad, 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 but you're not going to be in your power.
Right.
So anything you're working on in the now is going to have a hard time if you're already in that
Exactly.
show 2 days from now, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why. So, if you look around, you're like, well, oh my gosh, like, it could be even things like everything happens at once, and that happens at once. Like, say, like, you get a ticket on your car, and then, like, this bill comes in you weren't expecting, and then it's all happening at once, right? So that is an energy, and you can work that energy. And you can move out all the fear about it. How am I going to get it done? And what's going to happen? And start bringing in abundance and possibility. And it's like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden this, I don't know, the IRS sends me back a check.
Right.
I'm like, wow, that's how I'm going to do it. Right.
Yeah. It's so much easier when you manage your
Mm-hmm.
emotions, when you're in present time, and,
Mm-hmm.
you're taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is so much easier.
Yeah. And a lot of that is about not judging yourself when you do it.
Right.
Don't
Right.
judge those emotions. We can't be perfect all the time. We're not going to be. So when you aren't, don't judge yourself for it. It's the worst. We're our own worst critics.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear that. I hear that. So you and I have bonded on philosophy in the
Yes.
past too,
Mm-hmm.
and philosophy is launching.
Mm-hmm.
It's about to be out. This is
Yay.
probably going to put it on that. So philosophy, as mentioned before, is kind of like an event that Dami is going to have once a month, and we're going to try to be a little bit more muggle friendly, even though that probably sounds really rude right now, but be a little bit more universal, a little bit more earthly,
Mm-hmm.
and more grounded. So I wanted to see if you would talk about philosophy, like especially philosophy, religion, spirituality.
Wow.
You pick. What do you? Yeah, you
Well,
want to
you
talk
know, I
about?
was a philosophy major.
Yeah, were you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the best.
And a religion minor.
Really? That's
Yeah. Are you psychic?
I am not surprised
Yeah.
that you did that.
Right?
That's awesome.
And then I ended up doing this work,
How funny.
which is kind of perfect. It's like a
Yeah.
perfect foundation for it. Yeah.
Perfect use of a philosophy major.
Right? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Philosophy. Yeah. And religions. So, I think of it as, and spirituality. Let's see. Religions to me serve a purpose, and there is a positive aspect to religions. That positive aspect and that purpose is it gives a like a what's the word, like a mold or
Like a framework,
a
foundation.
framework, thank you, for practice and for guidance. It gives a way for people to believe in something bigger than themselves. However, the thing about religion that has nothing to do with spirituality is the dogma. Is the programming, is the guilt, is
The Kool-Aid.
is the idea that there is something bigger and outside of you that you are not part of, right? That you have to earn, or you have to, I don't know, do all this stuff for, blah, 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 right? I mean, I say it lightly like that, but it's huge. So for me, I like certain religious traditions. I like religions. I think they're beautiful in many ways. Not the nasty part of them, but
Right.
the beauty in them. Worshiping the divine is is a special kind of space to be in. Okay, I believe in prayer and blessings, um, group prayer, group energy. But spirituality is something that's different. Spirituality is recognizing that you are that divinity, and not in an ego way, but in a just that's what we are. We're divine beings. Why the heck else would we be here? There is no other purpose. It's not accidental, it's all purposeful. We chose to be here. And with that, we chose a lot of stuff, a lot of experiences, and we're here to grow, but we are divine. We're part of this divine, source or whatever you want to call it, right? So religion and spirituality are not at all in the same category in that way, right? That takes us back into philosophy. And philosophy for me is all about questioning, right? So philosophy is letting go of fear or facing fear and questioning things. Why do we hold on to things? Why do we not want to philosophize? Because we want to hold on to a truth.
Right. Why is our identity wrapped up in what we think we know?
Exactly. Everything's going to fall apart. And then what am I going to be left with, right? But philosophy by nature argues everything. And that's a great tool because at the essence of everything, it all can be argued. I mean, truth,
Betcha.
right? Truth is,
Filibuster Fran over here.
yeah, right? It's like your truth, my truth, whose truth, right? So it's there to show us, I think, and teach us how to expand, how to transform, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I like that.
strength, or I would even say mental health is in the power of perception, right? So if I perceive things a certain way and that feels good and brings me joy, awesome. But if I'm perceiving something a way that gives me pain and judgment and keeps me trapped, I have the ability to change my perception. So even just knowing that is huge because many people don't know they have that.
Exactly. They're like, oh, these are my cards. They're in this position of lack,
Right.
and they don't know how to shift.
Right. It's like, oh,
No
this
one
is just-
teaches you that in school.
it's like a secret. Nobody
Right?
tells you, yeah, here's how everything is. However, if you explore it, which is what I love about philosophy, if you explore it and question everything, you will get to your own truth. And your own truth is what is important because that is yours. That's how you want to navigate from your truth. Just because our truths might be different does not mean that we're going to fight. It doesn't mean that we can't both thrive. It doesn't have to mean that at all. Now, people will create wars around it because their ego gets involved, right?
Yeah.
But if we're neutral, I can let you have your truth and I can have mine. And we might, get along really well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? So it goes
Yeah.
back to that self-work.
Mm-hmm.
Get your ego out of the place,
Mm-hmm.
Deal with
Yep.
the fear so because the light of your spirit is always so much better equipped to handle differences, the unknown,
Totally.
you know.
That is so good. Yes. That
It's
light
true,
part of
yeah.
you.
Don't leave that up to your ego. I'm just going to send my ego. My Aries rising will come in and I'll be
Right?
like, I'm going to fix this. God damn it.
Yeah.
Who's in charge?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that doesn't usually work as well. even
Well,
though it
and
comes
there-
out time to time.
And that's where I think a lot of the religious problems come in because they feed on keeping trapped in the ego, keeping trapped in the fear.
And the lack.
Hmm. And that's how people control is by that, right?
Right.
So,
Kool-Aid.
mm-hmm,
Watch out for the Kool-Aid.
have your own truth. I mean, why would it threaten anyone unless there was something for them to lose, right?
Exactly. Membership, dues, unfortunate. And I mean, going back to what you were talking about with religion,
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that with religion, you have some type of organization
Mm-hmm.
for your life, for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. You know,
Yeah.
you have your time and space for worship.
Mm-hmm.
You have that time and space to meditate
Mm-hmm.
and to, you know, kind of go past the veil into the light of spirit or source or whatever it is and
Mm-hmm.
let it shine through you.
And these beings, these people who walk the earth, who are at the foundation of a lot of these religions, right? They were amazing, mystical, high vibe
Yeah,
beings, right?
right.
So that part's great.
They didn't have whips, you
They're
know? They
they're
weren't
not
trying to brainwash you.
they're not about punishment. They're about freedom, right?
Right.
So that part, you don't want to lose that part. We don't want to lose that part that I think maybe religion or spirituality, that's where it kind of started. Not to go down that whole thing,
Yeah.
but it's evolved, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I like your work because a lot of times, maybe some of the older New Age stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I have my fairy godmother who's given me tons of audiobooks and this and that, and so I've seen some crazy shit coming out of the 70s and like
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that
crazy
was such a
stuff,
great time.
New Age stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
wacky.
yeah, but a lot of times, you're looking for something outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see that with different cult religions, not to like name any right now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's, you're not looking inside at yourself for your own truth.
Right.
You're not looking to heal yourself and free yourself.
Yeah.
You're looking to go somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
to get somewhere, to get in touch with some other thing or
Yes.
entity that's going to hold this power that it might share with you
Mm-hmm.
if you're good.
Yeah,
You
exactly. If
know?
you follow the rules, if you
Right?
sacrifice yourself,
Yeah.
right?
We'll give you a little cookie here.
Yeah, and
Give you a nugget.
that is like no. I mean that's the biggest.
Coercion.
I mean, if you, as you and I know, if you ground and sit in your space and get to know yourself at all on a deep level, you will physically be repulsed. Is that word? You will revolt against energy like that because you will know it's trying to take you out of you. It's just
Yeah.
But so anything out there really that says that there's something bigger than you that you have to aspire to become or earn or do, that's not, I mean, for me, it doesn't work. That's not a truth for me. I
Yeah.
like to create spaces or the philosophy. I like to put the philosophy out there that I like to live by and that I want to believe in and that I want to be nurtured by, which is that I already have the answers within. Okay, it doesn't mean I can't get help from my friends. That's not what it means. It just means I can trust myself. And I can trust myself in the deepest sense. When I die, I can trust myself. It's going to be a good death. That's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I can trust what is going to happen because I trust myself. I trust my spirit. I know I'm connected to that. I came from that, right?
That's awesome. I love that. Oh, that's very high vibration of you, Kathryn.
Well, it's, I've done some work.
Yes. I love that. I think I'll have a good death too.
Yeah.
I feel confident.
Yeah, decide it.
I'll be cruising. So, what do you think about the idea of being more than one person at the same time? Any thoughts with your philosophical
What do you
adventuring?
mean? Can you clarify that a
Like,
little bit?
for
I mean, I have an
example,
idea what you mean, but
yeah,
I wanna...
could I be like some dude in like Australia right now and Francesca Rose?
This is what I think about that, and I could be totally wrong. Okay, but here's my
Perception.
thinking. Here's my perception. Here's my philosophy on that. I believe that there are dual, or more than that, there are many parallel universes. So I believe that you could be living a similar or a different life in a different realm, absolutely, at this moment. And you probably are. That I believe. Do I believe that at this time on this planet that you are in some other body having a different experience? Not really.
Okay.
I don't really believe that in the sense that I don't know really why you would.
Yeah.
I think that your soul, your spirit chose this form and came into this experience in this time for a reason. And I think you're here doing your thing, right? Um, so I don't really think that you would be in Australia doing something else too at this time. But yeah, I mean, I think you might have done that right before you came into this one, or right, you'll do it next.
Maybe Middle Earth, and I'm like a fairy
Okay,
somewhere.
so that's different. I do believe, okay,
Yeah, tell me. Tell
that
me
you
believe.
could be in an astral form as well as your human form right now. Meaning, I do believe that you could be a guide out there for someone or a fairy in Middle Earth
Interesting.
at the same time that you're also having a human existence here. Those, I think.
Interesting.
And I don't know, I can't really get into or tell you why. It's a long one there. But I think that that is possible, meaning you can talk to spirit. This is why I believe that, because we've talked about this before, but you can talk to spirit, people who've died and departed, who are out there, maybe your family members, whatever, and they can be aware and tell you they've already reincarnated and they're in a body in this life. So I know you can be in spirit and here at the same time. I believe in that, and I believe in the parallel universes. But splitting into two different bodies, it'd be more like a split soul. It's probably possible, but it's not common. It's not a common.
I don't want to do that right now.
It's not a common human experience, in my understanding. It's not like really why we're here.
Yeah.
Not anything's possible, but
I like that.
not real purpose to it.
Yeah, that does make more sense. That's so cool. So do you believe in aliens?
Absolutely.
So what type of experience? Well, you used to live in Santa Fe. You get some sightings out there?
You know, I didn't have sightings in Santa Fe, but I have had 3 specific sightings. But I have definitely had sightings, but they weren't in
Do
Santa
they
Fe.
consult with you for readings? Because you are one of the top psychics in the country, right?
So ever since I started doing this work, I haven't had any sightings. How funny is
that's
that?
funny.
Over 10 years. 11, 12. Yeah, I haven't had any sightings, gosh, in a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. But when I say it like that, let me differentiate aliens. Okay, so I do believe in extraterrestrial aliens. I do believe, yes, there are other planets and universes and beings out there, and they're totally like alive, and they are here sometimes, and they visit and all that kind of. Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of illogical and just boring to me to think not, right? And also I have had experiences, but there's also other kinds of aliens. So aliens, just that word, right? That means they're not human. But there's other kinds of aliens that aren't like evolved, that are they're not aliens like that live on planets and, have these,
Ray
telepathic, ray guns, have ray guns and telepathic communication and invisible spaceships, which I totally believe in. They're not those. They're just other beings that aren't from this planet. And those, we've talked about those
like
in
spirits,
classes.
right? See, I think my healing guide is.
Well, no. These
is
are
more
low vibrational
alien-like.
beings that kind of come around. And those are a certain kind of alien. And they're not, those are like the not good aliens. They're just yucky. They're
the deplorables.
Exactly. And I believe in those because I've seen those and we know they exist. We know they exist and they're nothing to fear because there's ways to work with them and get them out of here. Let's tell everybody how.
Right.
But
raise the vibe.
Also, yes, many people's spirit guides are alien. So that's very common too. And yes, I've seen those in the classroom. I've literally had aliens in the classroom like, oh, here's an alien. And they look like whatever. They all look different. But instead of being like your aunt or instead of being like a guide named Bob or like some beautiful, amazing, like, goddess woman. Or
That was like my first guide
Right.
in women's intuition.
Right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we can all have those kinds of guides, right?
Yeah.
And then you can also have literally an alien. You're like, wow, from another planet trying to help me out. You probably have karma with that one, probably past life energy. Absolutely. You could have been on another planet at another time. Many of us were not from Earth prior.
That's so trippy to get into.
It's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Right? Do you have a lot of people who seek out that information from you? Is that one of the more popular topics in like self-exploration to go into past lives?
Not really, actually. I mean, I know a lot of people that are interested in aliens, but ironically, they don't do this work. I think the more you do this work, it's just not that
Doesn't matter.
interesting. Is that weird?
Present
I
time.
used to be super into it, and it's just not as interesting now because it's not weird.
Yeah. And
And because there are good aliens and bad aliens. There's some jerks out there. It's just, honestly, it's like all the, what are those films, the superhero shows,
oh,
the Marvels and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of truth to those. I probably, people
Oh,
think
I
I'm,
know.
right?
I think that all
Like,
the time.
I mean, those people that created it, I don't know who you are, but I know what you're into, and they get it. They
Right?
know it. It's like,
Especially like X-Men.
right? I
Like,
mean, all of them.
yeah.
They're like, so if you are work in this kind of world, in this realm, and you know this because you're working on your own energy, you know how real that is, and it's not crazy either, and it's not even that interesting anymore. What's interesting is me, dealing with my life's purpose. That's what's interesting. So people aren't that interested in aliens as much when they're doing this work because they're like, yeah, I got an alien guide. Yeah, whatever. It's not so far fetched anymore.
Right, right. They've
Right?
already been initiated. Like they're
It's
chilling
just, it's
out. They're
not
not like,
disconnected. They're just other beings in other universes,
yeah.
other planets. And
What's
you
the big
could,
deal? It's just another being
if
from
you want
another
to connect with
world.
them, connect with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. What about past, present, and future?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? Do you want to share any thoughts? We've already talked about it to
Mm-hmm.
some extent, but especially because, in like physics or
Mm-hmm.
theoretical physics, I don't know what the particular branch that would talk about things being a constant.
Mm-hmm.
Just a
Yeah.
softball question.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is okay. I'll give you like a little one on that one. So it's all in a way happening at the same time because outside of here, outside of Earth, outside of this realm, there is no time or space. It doesn't exist. In that way, what's really cool is this is why past lives are so important. I didn't even believe in past lives until I did this work. Okay, I was like, I don't care. Why would I even care about a past life? All I care about is this life. But past lives are important because often they need healing in them. Often they can help us with stuff going on in our present life. We can draw from them. But here's what's cool about your question. We can also change things that happened in the past. And literally, in a sense, it will change the DNA in your body and how you're holding the memory and the experience, which is a huge and powerful way to cure PTSD and things like that.
Wow.
So you can change the past on a cellular level in your physical body. And you can still have the memory of it, and you can also get rid of the memory of it,
Right.
actually. But past, present, future, it all works together in a sense. But in order to do that, you got to be in the present to do any of that. You have to be in the present, in your power, in your space to be able to heal the past, if that makes sense.
And shape the future.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You handled that question well. What do you think the most difficult thing is for the average person in America who's unhappy with their life or with themselves? What do you think, the biggest kind of eureka moment is, or the light bulb going off? What do you think the average person is missing in their life right now, or a particular vibration? Because we do that a lot in the class.
Yeah.
What particular vibration do you think would be the most awakening for the average person who doesn't do this work?
Who doesn't do this work? I would say probably fear is the number one, whether it's fear of I'm never getting out of here, fear of death, of being threatened, considering where you live and what kind of situation you're in, or fear of survival. That's all survival energy, by the way, but fear of not having enough, not being able to survive and thrive, right?
Yeah.
So that fear can cause people to feel trapped, and then you can't really even see that it's a fear. You just feel trapped and you're stuck. And then it's like there's limits all around you. So what are your options, right? So your options become very small. Well, I can either get a gun and defend myself, or I can either stay quiet and not be seen, or so those are two extreme
Right.
examples. They're different examples, right?
But how relevant is that in
But they're the
today's
same
society?
energy, right?
Wow.
Or I can stay in fear that the things that have happened to me and that I've been subjected to will happen over and over and over again.
So you're always on guard, always in that moment.
And I can't change my situation to get out of it. So it's not true. And it might look like it is. Well, let's look at it very practical. Well, this, and this. Okay, what can I do? So that's where you start doing the work. There's always another option. Always. And even if you don't know it or see it, if you can believe that, if you can change that perception for a moment and start kind of considering how that's possible, your life will change. Doors will open up. Someone will take you out of that. Or it just changes. So I think that's where it starts.
So then what is the vibration that you use to get out of that? Is it trust?
Gosh, what is that vibration? Let's see. Well, what's the opposite of fear, being trapped?
Courage. Courage is a little different than trust.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Hope.
Might be a little hope. Might be a little courage.
Yeah.
Might be a little
few
trust.
things.
I think, yeah, for me, I look at it this way. And I am privileged where I am in this moment in my life. I can look at it this way. I realize that, right? I have tools. I have the life that's happened to me up to this point, and I can do this. But this is how I would teach it. When you feel trapped, that if you can start with telling yourself, okay, that is energy, and energy is just energy. It can be changed. Then I can start to feel whatever the opposite of that is. I can start to feel that's a vibration. I just tune into a color or a feeling and let my vibration change that. I am the opposite of that, because that trapped energy, that fear, that darkness, it thrives on that. That's what it wants you to feel, and that's how it survives. So if I can be like, oh, wow, wait a minute. I know this is a game in a sense, and I know that my fear is only helping this stick around. And I can be like, So what is that for you? For everybody, it might be different. It might be faith. This is where the religious stuff's good. It's like, And I don't mean just sit there and just, pray to something outside of you. I just mean I am lightness. I am energy. I'm lightness. So maybe lightness is the vibration. It's like ease.
Ease. Ease is huge. I've been trying to get ease in my life for a long time.
It feels hard. It doesn't have to be that. That's an energy. I'm ease. Yeah. It can be easy. And I can glide on through this and find the exit that's going to take me.
Action.
Yeah, it's going to take me to wherever that ease will stay, So ease, I think ease is a big vibration.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's funny. This is somewhat esoteric to be trying to break down the big challenges that we face in life vibrationally. There's this book, though, that I read called Force versus Power. Have you read that? It's was written by a doctor, Dr. David R. Hawkins. I looked that up.
Okay.
But it's so funny. He was a regular medical doctor, and he's atheist. I think he had a near-death experience, and he just started looking at the world differently. But he basically was breaking down all human emotions to a vibrational essence, and that you're the sum of all your vibes.
Absolutely.
And he also breaks that down to how you influence people around you and vice versa, and the collective vibration of the world, which when he wrote the book, I think it was probably early 2000s, the world had for the first time gotten over the vibration of 200. So 1,000 is peace. That's like your Jesuses and your Buddhas,
Yeah.
So 200 is courage. We had just finally gotten to that point where there's a bit of a more positive,
Mm-hmm.
more positivity throughout the world, more hope, more courage, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that's kind of wavered at all. But,
Mm-hmm.
to your point earlier, where it's kind of trendy to be in this work now, like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there's a lot of vibrations between, I know, the arts and the sciences. Those are usually going to vibe at like a 300 level.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, in order to engage in those types of worldly pleasures like the
Mm-hmm.
arts and sciences, and I'm such a nerd for referring to those things as such, but you have to have so much of your other stuff out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to be beyond courage.
Yeah.
You can't be in that anxiety space if you're going
No.
to revolutionize the
You
arts
can't
and
be in
sciences.
survival.
Exactly. And so when you get into those lower vibrations below 200, you have you start getting into seriousness and worry
Yeah.
and doubt, and then the lowest vibrations are actually like apathy,
Mm-hmm.
and where someone is completely resigned.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you handled that question quite well. I didn't think about that ahead of time. But you're right. It's different for everyone. And a lot of times you have to take those baby steps. Maybe, and this is what I've used a lot, which I've gotten from these tools that I've received from you, is neutrality. Oh my God. Neutrality has changed my life. And think about it this way. Let's say you have a situation, maybe you're in a car accident, or you have someone really upset you and they're just being terrible, and you can't go to forgiveness, and you can't go to like joy, you can't go to amusement.
Yep.
And the best you can do is neutrality
Mm-hmm.
and non-reaction. And
Yeah.
how many times that has saved me in situations where I wanted to freak the fuck out, and I chose to be neutral
Yeah.
and manage the situation from a neutral standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have to like go sue your ass afterwards, I will.
Mm-hmm.
But that
But in that moment,
neutrality, yeah, and that I'm just trying to illustrate, how wherever we're at, we can only shift so far. And granted, there are times like taking these classes. I told you this last year. I'm like, I feel like I just took a quantum leap, which I've done maybe twice in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can do that sometimes, but not often. A lot of times it's a more of a gentle
Yeah.
rise of the energy, extension of the light
And then
into the
sometimes
world.
it's a big jolt. Yeah.
Right?
But you can choose your vibration. You can be like, can't do forgiveness right now. Can't do compassion right now. But I can do neutral. I can do neutral, which means I can just not judge at the moment. I can just sit here, not react, and not judge. Neutrality often is confused with apathy.
Right.
Because
Totally
if you
different
haven't been
vibe.
neutral, you're going to feel like, wow, I don't care about anything. What is my problem? I just don't even care, right? But apathy is low. You're right.
Yeah.
And neutrality is one of the highest vibrations on the planet.
Yeah.
It allows you to see the truth.
Right.
It just is what it is. What do you want to do with it now?
It's so Buddhist too.
It is.
Non-attachment.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean you can't do something with that. You can't.
Right.
You can still decide to sue that person that blah blah
Right.
blah. But you're looking at neutrality when you make that decision.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. I'm looking at neutrality when
Yeah.
I do the paperwork.
Yeah.
Go to the police
Yeah,
station.
it's not making you passive.
Yeah.
And people get that confused,
exactly.
like, I don't want to be neutral. It's not making you passive. It's a vibration that's going to keep you
Exactly.
high up,
Right.
or in not low, which will get you into survival. So it's not bad to be in those lower vibrations, but if you stay in them for long periods of time, you will get stuck in them, and they will make you unhealthy.
Right. And it constricts chi.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like that.
No, we don't like that. So yeah, I mean, what can anyone do? Anyone in this training or not in this training, or people who have never heard of an energy tool ever, is raise your vibration. And it sounds, new agey or whatever, witchy, but it's true. It's literally like someone in joy is more pleasant to be around than someone in pain or in grief. That's because you will match that vibration. Which one feels better, right? But if I'm in joy when you're in pain or grief, then, I'm not going to laugh at you. I don't mean
Right.
that.
Sorry, I'm in a high state of amusement right
Right,
now.
right.
Excuse
Sorry,
me.
I'm just trying. But then you have the ability to shift your energy as well. And I won't
Yeah.
take any of that stuff on.
Right.
Yeah.
And you give the person, you're like a lighthouse in a way,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you
like when
give
you
them-
hold
you give them
space for
permission.
them.
Yes,
Yeah.
same thing. Hold space, give them permission. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
I love it. Oh my gosh. I love you.
I love you
Yes.
too.
Ah. So I feel like we've gone through some amazing stuff. I think the biggest question people will have at this point in time is, how do I find you?
Oh,
Kathryn Schiff.
yeah. It's my name, KathrynSchiff.com. Pretty easy.
Schiff, common spelling, S-H, no,
Okay.
S-C-H-I-F-F.
Yeah, KathrynSchiff.
And if you didn't write that
Yeah.
down, that'll be on the
Yeah.
website and the newsletter.
Yeah. And you can also, if you want to just type in a bunch of words, School of Intuitive Greater Healing.com. Same thing.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so. Other than energy consultations and the classes that you teach, what else do you have going on? Do you teach meditation? Like, do you have any things outside, like anything on YouTube or anything?
I don't have anything on YouTube.
We gotta get you on YouTube.
I teach just meditation drop-in classes at the Den in Los Angeles. I created an online program for the basic intuitive training. So the part 1 of the intuitive training that is going to be available in probably a month. So people can take it online now rather than having to come to Los Angeles or do it with me on the phone. And then I also I just did some like free meditations that I'll have pretty soon. I'll have it on my website. And I'm working on a bunch of stuff right now. So eventually I'll have a lot more stuff that people can just have and get and do on their own. But
awesome.
yeah, as of now, just teaching the classes, teaching meditation classes and over the phone. I do all sessions over the phone. Everything's over the phone except for the classes.
I've had amazing sessions over the phone with you.
Because there's no time or space. Doesn't make a difference, right?
Yeah.
They're healing. They're good.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean that in the sense of like, this is why I do it. They're like, I know the energy work is crazy. It's amazing. This is why I do it. I didn't make it up.
I love it. And I thought I saw on your website you were listed as one of the top 50 psychics in the country.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? Because I knew you were amazing, but
Well,
guess you got some press now. Woman,
yeah,
that's awesome.
right. So it was 2 years. Is it 2018? It was 2 years ago.
17?
17. Yeah, I think 2 years ago. So yeah, after I had moved to Los Angeles, as Los Angeles is, you just kind of meet people and fall into, you just connect. Well, I say as Los Angeles is, I think it is like that here. But as intuitive work is, it will connect you to people. You just kind of show up and you're like around the people that you want to work with, that you want to teach, that you want to do sessions with. They just show up. And so through a friend of a friend, I met this woman, Jennifer Diamond, and she was doing just so happened she was writing a book on her experience. She had had a near-death experience, and so she was about to publish her book on her experience, and at the same time it led her on a journey as to let's get this information out there, because psychics really helped her during her journey. And somehow she found me, and she was doing basically a directory on the top 50 psychics.
That's awesome.
That's how I got in that. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're vetted, and she has Domination University's
I had to
seal
go
of
through
approval.
a test, I had
Right?
to she sent me a panel, and
No way.
Yeah, and I did sessions on her judges. Is that what you call it? Her panel, her judges.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we had to, they had to try us out.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You had to make the cut. I guess.
I'm glad that there's a little bit more of a qualification
There
process.
is. Yeah, you
than-
can't just be one. Yeah.
Right. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I mean,
LA is so great for that kind of thing, though,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. I like this town. It's a good town.
Yeah.
If you're not commuting and you're not stressed out, this is a great town.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people here are open.
It's a great place to manifest.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. We're just so honored to have you on.
Thank you. It was fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kathryn.
Thank you, Francesca.